Hey everybody, it is Chachi, aka Painful Truth, and I am back. I know it has been a long time. I'm back with something a little different today. As you know, it is Painful Truth Gaming, so it's all about any types of game. Everyone knows that I love sports and I am a huge Penguins fan. I'm sure you know that from watching my videos. So I wanted to make a quick video today ahead of the March 8th trade deadline. The reason being is I celebrate trade deadline day every year. It's like a national holiday to me. And I've been very lucky over the past decade, really, on being able to break trades before they happen. I used to have a source inside the Penguins that I had done a wedding for. And he used to, on the down low, let me know things that were going to happen beforehand. So people who were friends with me on social media, I was able to break the Jerome McGinley trade. I was able to break the Phil Kessel trade an hour and a half before TSN or anyone else. Unfortunately, that guy doesn't work there anymore, but I still keep up with the Pens, as everyone knows, and I always go over tons of information. Everyone's been hitting me up ahead of this trade deadline, wanting to know what I think, so I wanted to make a quick video, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I think as we dive in and we analyze where the Pens sit today. As we know, the Pens just finished up their Western road trip. They went 1-3 on that road trip. They started off by beating Vancouver, which is one of the best teams in the league, and then they completely just sucked against the rest of the teams. We lost to Calgary, we lost to Edmonton. So I'm going to tell you why this is the best thing that could have happened for the Penguins, okay? Everyone is talking on the radio today about the Penguins missing the playoffs, how terrible it is we're going to miss the playoffs for the second straight year. This is the best thing that can happen to this team. And to be honest, I was hoping for a losing streak like this to put us out of contention for the playoffs, at least for right now, so that Dubas can approach this trade deadline and the Penguins being something we have not been in about 12 to 13 years, which is sellers. We have always been buyers. It has been so nice for us here in Pittsburgh. Every year we are in on the biggest candidates at trade deadline. We know they're coming to the Pens. It's just a matter of time. They talk about it on TSN. They talk about it on NHL Network. This is the guy, this is the guy, and then the Penguins go out and swoop them up. That doesn't need to happen this year. This roster is a mess. Not because the players on it aren't talented, but anyone who watches hockey knows it is the one sport where you have to gel and you have to have chemistry. This team has zero chemistry. Aside from the first line with Crosby, Rust, and Gensel, none of the lines click. The players don't click. We have rumors of players who don't want to be here. This team needs to be retooled, not blown up and restructured, retooled. And this is how we can do it. So I'm going to jump into this real quick if you guys want to take a look here. I'm starting off on capfriendly.com, showing where the cap is right now for the Penguins. As you can see, we are right up against it. And I want to talk about some of these players down here, okay? So we're going to look Sidney Crosby, of course, we know where that's at. He's underpaid as it is for what he does. Raquel Ricard, a lot of people have been calling for this guy to be traded. That is absolutely ludicrous. This is one of the players that is simply being productive for this team ever since he got put on a line with Crosby. And that's actually very bad news for Jake Guentzel. The whole case for Jake Guentzel is he's a 40-goal scorer perennially every year. He can do it. I don't think he can do it without Sidney Crosby. And Raquel has showed that by being promoted up to the first line after really not doing anything, and now he's starting to produce. He's showing if you play with Sidney Crosby, you can get goals. And I personally don't think whatever team Jake Guentzel goes to, he's not going to be putting up 40 goals a year. If you want to come back in a couple years, check this video and come at me. If he is, good for him. I don't think it's going to happen. Just like I predicted Matt Murray wouldn't be in the league 2 years after the Penguins, I was right about that. So Jeff Carter's, of course, the liability. He's not going to retire. He's not going to do nothing. I don't think anyone's going to take him. But Dubas does have a lot of great relationships. Maybe he could package him in with somebody to unload him and unload that contract. The key to this trade deadline is going to be getting younger and getting cap relief. And we can do that just by getting rid of a couple key pieces. Noel Acciari, I think, is a great player. I don't want to see him go. He's a shot-blocking machine. The Penguins' winning record when he's in the lineup is awesome. Lars Eller, I was a big Lars Eller proponent when he came to the Penguins. I love that signing. I think he has been good this year. Drew O'Connor, honestly, I could take him or leave him at this point. Yes, he's been producing, but he's still, a little inconsistent. And he is young. There's teams that might want to take a look at him. Emil Bemstrom, we just got. Jury's still out on him, but he's looked good in the first couple games for the Penguins, especially on the power play. Jansen Harkins, all right, he was a waiver claim, as you can see. If any teams are interested in him, fine. Jesse Puljujarvi, we just signed him. That's actually a good signing. John Gruden's not going to matter. Valtteri Puustinen, a good player, has been productive for us. Matthew Phillips, I don't know how he's on this team. The guy is like 4 foot tall if you see him out on the ice. I don't think anyone's going to be interested in him. Now let's talk about the defense. Erik Karlsson. Oh, Erik Karlsson, this is keeping me up at night. Yes, I, like everybody else, wanted Erik Karlsson, but man, it is just not working out here. And I'm going to tell you right now the reason the Penguins have not been successful that no one wants to talk about. You haven't heard anyone on the radio say it. You haven't heard anyone on TV say it. I'm going to say it for you right now. There is not enough puck to go around. Once again, there just isn't. There's not enough puck for all these superstars. So you bring in someone like Erik Karlsson, who's a 100-point scorer. You put him on with Chris Letang, who's almost a 100-point scorer. Then you have same thing on offense with Rickard Rakell and all these different people, Sidney Crosby. There's one puck. Not everybody can be scoring all these goals. It just doesn't work. So we have a whole team full of goal and point scorers, and nobody wants to shoot, number one, and then they can't all get the points. We're not putting it in the net enough. Conventional wisdom said you bring all these players to your team, you're going to be filling the net. That's just not how it works. These people are used to being the guy. Erik Karlsson was the guy on his team. He got the puck on the power play. He got the puck all the time. Boom, 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 shot, shot. That doesn't work here because Sidney Crosby's the guy. And then sometimes Chris Letang is the guy. Malkin wants to be the guy, but let's be honest, Malkin hasn't been the guy forever. There's just not enough puck to go around. Joseph Pierre-Olivier, or P.O. Joseph, there might be some interest in him. He does good here, but it's just a little inconsistent, and he doesn't seem like he fits in with what Sullivan's trying to do. So if we could get something for him, I wouldn't mind that. Tristan Jarry. Listen to me, Penguins faithful. Tristan Jarry needs to go. There are two people that need to go at this trade deadline, and they need to go separately, not in a package. Tristan Jarry and Jake Guentzel. Here's why. They're going to fetch the biggest returns. I'm going to hit on Jake Guentzel in a minute, but Tristan Jarry, there are teams that are desperate for goaltenders right now. And while we know in Pittsburgh that Tristan Jarry is a little unstable and you're not really able to depend on him, other teams don't know that. They look at his shutout numbers and his save percentage, and they are salivating. Which teams am I talking about? How about the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are one goalie away from winning the Stanley Cup? The Edmonton Oilers, who we just played, yeah, they put up a 6 spot on us, but their goaltender position isn't solidified. You have all these Western teams and all these Canadian teams who have a lot of pressure on them, especially the Canadian teams, to bring home a cup, and they're finally becoming powerhouses. And I'm telling you right now, they are going to be desperate at the trade deadline. Desperate, much way the Penguins were in the past couple of years, desperate to get the talent. And they are going to give up way more than they should for somebody like Tristan Jarry. There are not a lot of goalies that are going to be available. Tristan Jarry is going to get us a big return. What can he fetch? Maybe an NHL caliber player and a few picks. I know this draft isn't that deep, and I do know that Kyle Dubas is targeting prospects. He wants young players that have already been drafted because he doesn't really like this draft coming up. It's not that great. So Tristan Jarry can fetch us a few picks to fill in and maybe a couple prospects. I wouldn't even be surprised if one of these Canadian teams gave up a top winger or a defenseman to get Tristan Jarry. I like Nedeljkovic. I think he does a good job. His numbers speak for himself. He's not looking bad, and he's at a 1.5. We can ride him for now because we have another guy coming out of the system who might be able to prove himself to be a starting goalie. We don't know. But once again, we're looking for a retool, not a restructure. Brian Russ is on the IR. Of course, Brian Russ is awesome. Nothing needs to be done there. We just locked him up. Matt Nieto, we'll see when he comes back. I mean, that's going to be another one, but no one's going to take him at the trade deadline. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Jake Guentzel. But let me get into these lines real quick here. I want to really talk about the lines that we got going on. Okay, so we got Drew O'Connor. I wouldn't mind seeing that maybe go, okay? Crosby and Rakell. Yes, this is working out well, and then you're going to have Rust on there when he comes back. Riley Smith. Oh, Riley Smith. So there has been a lot of talk about Riley Smith, that he is never really accepted coming to the Pens. He didn't want to be traded from Vegas. He doesn't really feel he fits in here. Guess what, Riley? I agree with you. I don't think you fit in here. I think you need to go to trade deadline, and to be honest, you can go for whatever we can get for you. Puustinen, I want to keep. I like Puustinen. Malkin, there's nothing we can do with him. Would I love to see a blockbuster trade with some team giving up something for Evgeny Malkin? Yes, but let's be honest, it's not going to happen. Now here comes the third line, which has been the biggest problem for the Penguins. Lars Eller, yes, has been playing really good, lots of clutch goals this year. Emil Bemstrom, I really like how he looks. Gruden, this right here is a fill-in. This is where anybody can kind of come in and fill this role all the way through. Jeff Carter's been on the third line. It's been a merry-go-round of players, okay? So now I'm going to go forward one more time, and I'm going to go to the biggest people right now that they are projecting is going to fetch the biggest returns on trade deadline day. Look who is number one, good old Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh. And Penguins fans, this is our chance. There are teams who have gotten rich from the Pittsburgh Penguins over the years. Yes, Rich, how many times we play against teams who have former Penguins on and they kill us? Especially teams from the West. They have taken all these people from the Penguins, our prospects, our picks, and they have turned them into good players, and now they are becoming the good teams, while the Penguins, who were mortgaging the future, and that's what we did, are falling by the wayside. Now's our time to come back and turn that around, and Jake Gensel is the key. And I'm going to tell you how we could possibly have our cake and eat it too, because it can be done. And if anybody's friends with Kyle Dubas, send us this video. Send him this video, because me and him need to talk. There is a chance we can get rid of Jake Gensel, and because he will be an unrestricted free agent, we could re-sign him. I'll tell you how in a minute. But first of all, I want to talk about what we can get for Jake Gensel. I know Dubas is looking for prospects. I'm hearing the price for him is a king's ransom, and that is because just what this website says. He is the number one highest projected player. He is the target. He's the one everyone wants. Just like Kessel a few years ago. He's the guy. Okay? So let's get rid of the guy and let's get a couple guys back. By that I mean 2 prospects and 2 picks. That's what I want. I want 2 prospects, a first and a second. Is that asking a lot? Yeah. Or give me an NHL caliber player and 3 picks. It has to be 4 players for Jake Gensel. Whether we're looking at return or picks, 4-1. That's the only way Dubas can let him go, unless he's going to be swapping out for another blockbuster. Now you can see here, Calgary's going to be a seller, of course. Anaheim's going to be a seller. Vladimir Tarasenko, as you guys know, this is a Pittsburgh kid. He has ties to Pittsburgh, and he's going to want to come here. He has always wanted to come here. We might be able to swing this, and only a $5 million cap hit. I think he would fit in perfectly with the Pens. They have him linked to Florida, Colorado, Tampa Bay. That's fine. I know for a fact the Penguins have always tried to be in on him all the way back to JR and all the different GMs we've had. So don't be surprised if Vladimir Tarasenko comes to the Pens, and don't be surprised if it's a 3-way swap deal with Tristan Jarry involved. Mark that down that I said it. Anthony Duclair, San Jose Sharks. These are all guys that are going to go to contenders, as you see here. There's really no one else that we're looking for here as far as the Pens are concerned, because no one else is really projected to be in that top. But like I said, our big guys are Gensel and Jarry. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Here's my proposed plan on how we are going to get Jake Gensel back. If we wanted to, we could trade Jake Gensel to a contender right now as a rental. When I say contender, I'm talking about to Vancouver or Edmonton, 2 teams that are in on winning the Stanley Cup, and they have to stop Matthews in Toronto. That means they have to load up. So it's going to be a race at the trade deadline between these 3 teams, Toronto, Edmonton, and Vancouver, on who can load up the most. It's a shame that the East, the traditional East teams, when we think about Pittsburgh and Washington, that's gone. Those times are over. These are the big teams now. These are the teams that have gotten rich off of the rest of us trying to win the Cup every year. They can take Jake Gensel, give us what we need. Now, the offseason comes. Jake's an unrestricted free agent. He could sign back in Pittsburgh. Why? Because the cap is going up $4 million next year. If we can shed some salary like Jeff Carter, let's go back to that salary cap website. If we can get rid of some players like Jeff Carter, who is eating up right now $3.1 million on the cap, Riley Smith, get him out of here at $5. Drew O'Connor's not at $1 million, so that wouldn't be terrible. And then you have some lower players, but this is huge cap relief getting rid of those players. Even Tristan Jarry down here, who was just signed at a pretty fair value for him, that's $5.3 million off the cap. We're talking about 12, 13 million, and it's going to go up by 4. We can fit Jake Gensel in there. So there is a chance we can cash in, have our cake, and eat it too. Not saying it's definitely going to happen, but it can. So this Penguins team is going to look a lot different come next year. Our penalty kill has been pretty good. Our power play is just atrocious, as we know that. But we can do some work on this first power play unit and the second power play unit to make this work. I do like Raquel with Crosby and Carlson, and Lars Eller. Having that big body in front of the net has really worked with Valtteri Pustin and crashing the net. That's why the first power play is come together a little more. I especially like to see Benstrom moved up instead of Pustin on that line. Riley Smith, like I said, get him out of here. Jeff Carter will be gone. Benstrom's going to move up. Malkin's going to be on Geno Island all by himself. And to be honest, if he doesn't pick it up, I don't know what's going to go on with him. Um, there was a chance I really wanted to see the Penguins somehow trade Jari and get Fleury back for the end of his career. A lot of people know he is retiring at the end of this year. I thought it was perfect. Come back to Pittsburgh, fill the role, but I think he's going to get traded to a contender as well. Minnesota has said they're not going to move him, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I hate to say it, but I think a Canadian team, maybe even Toronto, is going to snatch him up and try and make a run. These are teams that are desperate to win a cup. All the pressure in the world is on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they have a guy who's scoring ridiculous number of goals. You know, over 50 for 50. He might be 60 for 60, the likes of which we haven't seen since Wayne Gretzky. Edmonton has Connor McDavid, one of the best players in the league, who a lot of people will argue is the best player. I'm sorry, I still consider Sidney Crosby the best. The pressure on these Canadian teams is immense. They have to go out and do something to win, and the Penguins have what they need. So that is my trade deadline recap. Unfortunately, I will be working on trade deadline day this year. I know I'm so sad about it, so I'm not going to be there for the very busy times between 12 and 3 when all the deals happen. So please, if you're friends with me, you have my personal phone number, text me or keep me updated on social media. I will be checking all of my normal websites that day. I usually check tsn.com. I'm always on that with the trade breakers. They're usually first to announce everything. NHL.com and ESPN is extremely slow. They get everything late. So I would advise you to watch TSN, maybe one of the live broadcasts. But that is my trade deadline breakdown. And Penguins fans, it's okay. It is okay that we're going to miss the playoffs. Trust me, this is what we need. Let's just put our faith in Kyle Dubas that he's going to do the right thing and he's going to retool this team, not restructure. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll find out in a couple days. Till then, I promise more content is coming. Life has been coming at me kind of hard lately, so as soon as I can get everything under control, I promise I'll be posting more stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let's go Pens.